Welcome to the workshop. We are Mark and Magali Pasha, and we are founders of Coaching Institute, where we train life coaches in activation method coaching. And today's workshop is going to really go for it with you guys on the topic of goals and obstacles and how as a coach, or if you're thinking about becoming a coach, how really clarifying a goal is super important and activating the energy, the thoughts, the creativity needed to be able to take action on goals. And we're going to geek out about obstacles. We're going to transform some of our own obstacles. So I'm hoping that this session will be good for you on a personal level. And of course, you don't have to, but if you want to, I'd like you to work with yourself as we do this workshop together. We'll talk about it from the mental level, of course, but we also want to really feel it and apply it to our personal life and to our own goals. So Mark, I'll let you do an intro too, since we're having a little echo thing. We're going to have to kind of tell each other when to go on and off.
Yeah, so today we're going to be focusing on one of the big kind of the what most fundamental skills for coaches because when a client looks for something like coaching, they usually have something that they want to bring into their life. There's something that they want to do. They might be trying something new. They might be entering into a transition in life. It might be a career. And however, they want to do it, but something is making them feel like, oh, I could get some extra help with this, right? Either it's going slowly or they feel stuck. And so that's one of the reasons why they reach out for coaching. And now, one of the beauties of being a coach is that we're the profession that actually works with the individual and helps them figure out what is holding them back, what is it that they really want, and what is the action steps that take you there, right? And so, it's kind of one of the honors of our profession that anyone who comes and they something that they want to bring into their life or improve or a relationship they want to work on, that we're the ones who can actually work with them and figure out exactly how that individual work. And it's very individual. Each person is very different, right? So people say things like, oh, I'm procrastinating. Yes, procrastinating, that's like a label, but for you, what happens when you want to this thing to happen? Like even here on our session, if there's something that you're looking for and you're wondering how, what is there something holding me back? And for the client, it might be something like, well, every time I do it, I hear the voice of someone who's very critical to me in my head, right? And that is its kind of typical, not a typical, but that is an individual experience that that person is having. And so it takes a coach to work with that person and discover what is the obstacle for that person. And obstacles are very kind of, they're individual. And then the client really discovers it and then they learn how to transform it, they get an incredible burst of energy and momentum and confidence.
Awesome. So are you guys hearing me now? Is it going okay back and forth? Yep. Okay. So I just wanted to share our title slide with you guys too. If you just joined now, because there's a lot of people just coming on now, welcome, welcome. Let's all share in the chat where we are in the world. If you're a professional coach, if you're interested in becoming a coach, who knows where you're at in this path of coaching. But we are going to use today's time together to really gain personal insight about what goals mean, transforming whatever arises, which we're going to call an obstacle that gets in the way of our goal. But let's go back to what a goal means. And we are Mark and Magali Pasha. It's funny always that I say Mark's name first. We're a married couple and we're also a work couple, and we created Coaching Institute to train coaches in activation method coaching. So this is really core and foundational to coaching, this first idea of what is a goal. So right now, can you write down for yourself what goals you might have? So a goal might be an inner goal like I want to feel a certain way. And a goal might be an outer goal, like I want to start this new habit. I want to start a business. I want to plan a party. I want to take care of my health. All of these could be different kinds of goals that a client brings to you in coaching, and you probably have some of them in yourself. You might call them intentions or wishes. And then there's the other kind of goal. And we get this in coaching too. And this is the goal for someone else to be different. So, pretty common that someone comes to coaching because they want to change someone else in their life. One of our first jobs as a coach is to help our client to see what in them is the goal regarding this other person or this situation. Is there an inner goal they have for the way they react or how they feel or where they focus or what their intention is for the bigger situation? So we're always working with the individual who is there with us as our coaching client. And it's okay. It's okay if some of the goals that came to you are about other people. That's normal. That's because we care and we live in lives with other people. So of course sometimes we want them to be different, or we want the situation we're in to be different. That's what it is to have a human life, right? Now though, we get to do the work of clarifying a goal. So I'm going to open my chat and just take a look at what people shared that some goals are in your life. I want to accelerate my internet platform creation. Awesome. Any more goals? Come on, guys. We have a lot of people here. We need some goals. I'm looking for like 100 goals. We can do it to stay focused. I love that. Yeah, everyone find an emotional goal right now for the next hour. And also, do you prefer to call it an intention? Does that feel somehow more aligned with you? That's perfect if it does. Oh, thank you. You posted your goals earlier, Renee said. I'd like to buy a home for myself and my children. So I'm wondering if you guys are starting to see something here. Goals can be quite specific and they can be quite big. Another really important job of a coach is to help clarify where the person is at in terms of their relationship to the goal. Have they started to take steps in that if it's a big goal? Are they still in the planning stage of understanding exactly what the goal is? Like someone might want to run a marathon or climb a mountain, but they're not quite sure yet which marathon or which mountain, right? And so they're getting more clarity, or they might want a job transition, but they're figuring out what industry, what would that look like? What would the hours be that they would need? There's a lot of information gathering there. But the funny thing, kind of funny, kind of unfortunate, but I think it's just what is that often when we see a goal that we have and we're looking at it. So just pick up one of your goals right now and just imagine you're looking at it in the palm of your hand. I don't know if it's going to happen to you right now, but it is pretty common that at some point of looking at our goal and figuring it out, we turn our hand away and we say no in some way. I can't do it because I don't have enough knowledge, or I can't do it because I'm not 20 anymore, or I can't do it because this other person won't cooperate. I don't have the support I need. So that's the obstacle. And for some people, it's a real feeling-based obstacle. We just lose our sense of power and ability. We might even feel confusion, and it's a feeling. For some, it's a like Mark was saying, it's like a critical voice we hear talking us out of what we want to do. I'm gonna spotlight myself, Mark, so that and sometimes, unfortunately, the obstacle is actually physical. We might have physical symptoms in our body, or a headache, or fatigue that stops us from being able to take action. So what's so amazing in our method of coaching, of course, everyone loves their own method of coaching the most. So one of the things I love in our method is that we are not mean to our obstacles. We're actually the opposite of mean or dismissive to our obstacles. We are welcoming, we are inviting. We say, you have permission to be here. You're part of me. You're not ostracized. You're not abandoned. You are me. This obstacle is me just as much as my goals and my intentions and my wishes. And as part of me, I say, welcome. And I can transform it now that I've loved it. So when we bring love to the obstacle, we're already transforming it. So try it for a moment. Think of an obstacle to some goal in your life. It doesn't have to be about the goal you decided to work on 5 minutes ago. Some obstacle you've experienced. I have one that I'm sure some of you share with me. And I have to say, sometimes this obstacle is with me for months, and it's a technical belief. It's a belief that I can't do something technically online or set something up technically. And that obstacle will, if I have not loved it and heard it and transformed it, it'll show right back up. So noticing now an obstacle that recurs for you, perhaps sometimes obstacles recur. Just notice, is it in your body? Is it a voice? Is it a belief? Is it a feeling? And just name that. You don't have to work with it right now. I just want you to name it. Do you have a tendency? Like, I have a tendency to go into a little bit of like overwhelm. That would be emotional. I have a tendency to feel it in my lower back. That would be physical. My thoughts around it might be often, I don't know enough. So it's kind of like, it's nice to know sort of our personal usual way. And when we know a client's usual personal individual way of being with an obstacle, we can catch it right away. And as coaches, we not only want to help our client be able to clarify, and really the way I feel about it is see that goal, but it could be feel that goal, be with that goal, but also to be able to quickly feel and know when an obstacle is arising, and give it that welcome, give it that love, give it the chance for transformation. Because if you don't catch the obstacles, they can be a quite crafty part of yourself. Suddenly you've got a migraine headache. You didn't see it coming. Forget doing that technical thing today. You know, I had a day like that recently. Or it could be something else. You're just low, you're feeling powerless, and you haven't identified it as an obstacle you can work with. So catching it it's a form of friendliness, really. When we're not afraid, when we accept that I'm a human, I'm going to have these obstacles, it becomes a lot easier to then notice them before they're too big. And I think this is one of the beautiful things that happens in deep coaching work, is that the client, in sharing with their coach, not only their goals, but what the obstacles are, and really being given that safe space to understand and to heal an obstacle, then in the rest of life, that client is much more likely to catch an obstacle, or we could call it a resistance or a block, in the formation phase, and give it what it needs to be able to, the word that comes to me is just melt it. But again, I'm starting to talk metaphorically because I'm in this mode of teaching on this stuff. So we're going to go into metaphors next. I realized I've not been tracking with the slides, so I'm gonna check in on what our slides say. Mark, if you wanna share while I do that.
That was great. Yeah, and so you know, as a coach, in one thing that's beautiful is in your client, our clients have goals, and so the clients' natural like goals are very natural in the sense that like you know in the springtime a bird wants to build a nest. It creates a goal. Suddenly sees a branch and it wants to see a nest there. It wants to build a home there, right? And so we have this natural wish to make something happen. And in coaching, that's what really provides the energy of the coaching session is when the client is invited to really reconnect with that goal and really become kind of embody that goal. Then you see like their action, they're trying to figure things out. And then you got the obstacle. So and like the goal plus the obstacle kind of creates the problem. That creates the friction for people. So if you understand, hey, like goals are great. When the goal comes along, the obstacle will usually present, and then that's when we start this process.
And if it doesn't, if someone doesn't have any obstacles, that's awesome. I am echoing again, Mark.
Oh, sorry.
And so no worries if no obstacle or resistance shows up, that's beautiful. And then you can go right into planning action steps, becoming more resourceful and more powerful. But unfortunately, some people who are professional coaches aren't trained, maybe at least from our perspective, in the best way to work with obstacles. So an inexperienced coach might blame the client, and that's never, a good idea. And that can sound like thoughts or statements that make the client wrong, like they don't want their goal enough. Obviously they don't have enough inner leverage or outer leverage or leverage. I hate the word leverage, but whatever, it's a word used in our industry. So they can be blamed basically by an inexperienced coach that it's the client's fault that they don't want it enough. Also, some coaches feel like the client doesn't know how to follow their advice. Or an inexperienced coach can start blaming themselves for what's happening with their client. And then, of course, any form of blame is not going to be helpful in this relationship. Clients sometimes have resistance and obstacles to what they want that they have a whole, long lineage associated with that. So sometimes it takes many sessions of working patiently to slowly support the client to become very empowered. And with that healthy power and resources, which we'll talk about in a minute, the client can then really transform the obstacle. So let's I'm gonna be a good slide presenter for a moment, and let's just look at these details here of how we clarify our goals. So one would be to get the exact definition from the client or for ourselves. So let's say my goal is to feel more free. I want to feel free. Then my coach or I in this moment would ask myself, what does that mean exactly to feel free? What makes up that feeling of being free? And then I would answer, right? I would come up with my definition for feeling free. It could be relaxed, open, spontaneous, excited. And I'll get a lot more information about what this thing I've been saying I intend to feel more free would be like. So it might go into financial freedom or another part of life. So we can really work with our client to clarify what their goal or intention is. And then we want to find, as a coach, just to take note, is there certain language my client is using? And that I like to keep that in my notes. So then later, when we're doing the transformation, we can bring in the words that really resonate for that client. It's always good as a coach to learn what the client has tried before towards this goal. or in healing an obstacle. What have they tried to do? Often what they have tried, even if it didn't fully work, that's why they're here with you, it had some benefit. And it tells you and the client a lot about their effort. It's part of getting resourceful, learning about the past. We want to find out what experiences empower the client right now. Maybe it's habits, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's beliefs, practices. What empowers them? Because it's from that place of healthy power that we're able to do this kind of transformative work. We want to know, we already said the no thing about what's worked in the past. And we want to make it possible to empower the resources right now in the coaching session. So we're not sending them home to do this alone. One of the really beautiful things about it, can be online or in person, but personal coaching work between two people, is that relationship between you and the client, that's also a form of healthy power. The client has decided to take this time and make this investment in empowering themselves to realize their goals, to follow through, to heal what is needed to heal in themselves, and to activate themselves in their life in the way they want to. So that is a huge resource. And in that setting of that, whatever it is, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hour coaching session, they have the way I feel about it is that there's like an extra energy there for insights to come, for transformation, for healing, and for ability to plan more effectively than in the rest of life. So here are some of the slide kind of flipped back to obstacles. We're going to be flipping back and forth, obstacle, goal, obstacle, goal. So thoughts that show up. So if you go back to your obstacle right now, are there some thoughts that show up that sort of give voice to that obstacle? And just write them down so you know them. This is part of loving them. I'm going to hear you. I'm going to know what you say. I'm not afraid. I'm going to be courageous here and listen. So if it was back to that goal of freedom, I might be listening to what shows up that tells me I'm not free right now. What is that about? What are the words? And so it's a curiosity that we're teaching our client about themselves. And that curiosity, just like the welcome and the self-love, the curiosity is also part of the healing that begins to just naturally happen as we take this attitude. Are there physical sensations? So just check out with that obstacle, any physical sensations, any emotions, any energy, and write it down for yourself. Let's just take a little bit now to write that down. And we're just going to bring attention also to a pretty common pattern that occurs. And it's that people will kind of seesaw between what they really want to have happen and why there's no way it could happen. So they're going back and forth between their goal and their obstacle. And sometimes we can just get caught in this cycle for weeks, months, years, decades. And this is why it's so important to make a shift, because it is kind of unfortunate that oftentimes, maybe it's cultural, I don't know if it's in our biology, I don't know really where it arises from, but I know that it is common that we will get stuck in this back and forth seesaw, and that it drains us of the vitality we need and the processing we need to take action. And I just heard some sounds on the line. Not sure if we need to just mute everyone, Mark, if you're able to do that.
Did. By the way, is my echo still on, or is it better now?
It's better now. You okay. Solved it.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah. Would you like to share about this before we move on to more of the process? Are you good?
No, I'm good. This is great.
Okay, great. So now you've seen your obstacle more clearly. Let's go a little deeper. Okay. I hope you wrote down some words that come with it, some thoughts. Located if there's a feeling. Located if there's a kind of energy. And by energy, just notice, is there something sort of sinking down or weighing you down? Is there energy can be felt as a sort of pattern of like experience that might be, I don't want to get too out there here, but it could be like a pull. It could be like fatigue. Energy that is healthy and flowing can feel like a flow, like an ability to take a really big breath, to jump up and down, right? Energy can come with the more positive emotions when we're filling with healthy energy. When we're dealing with an obstacle, sometimes it's like that healthy energy is just flowing away from us, not towards us. Not a good feeling. So let's just ground ourselves for a second before we work with the obstacle. That's the way we get resourceful too, just feeling earth under our feet. And I like to focus on the center of the body and maybe just the lower belly for a second, taking a nice deep breath. Okay. So when we welcome the obstacle, when we've done a little mini grounding with a client, we might call in the resource of their higher self. We might do a longer grounding process, but that is to remind the whole system that we can fill it now with healthy power, with hope, with possibility, and with inner resources. So that's kind of what we're gaining here. We're going to feel those emotions of that welcome to the obstacle. So whatever your obstacle is, however you've identified it, an emotion, a thought, a physical sensation, and energy, just right now, say something kind to it. Welcome. I'm really curious. I'm looking forward to helping you, obstacle, to transformation. And feeling again that ground through your feet or through where your body meets your seat, and just bringing in to yourself through your intentions right now that you are centered, you are present with yourself, and that there is an alignment in you with your values. What's a value that gives you strength? It could be love. It could be learning. It could be the value of humor. Maybe you have a great sense of humor, or maybe you love art, or maybe it's family. Whatever it is, feel that for a moment. And you're accessing through this inner resource and power that is going to help the obstacle. So let's now go right into transforming our obstacle. And to do this, you're gonna get creative, and this can feel like play, imagination. So you might want to call in the energy of your playful inner child, if you have one. Most of us have one in there somewhere. Or maybe you love to dance, or maybe you love to be in nature. That whatever comes to you as a playful, imaginary, the ability to have imagination. And with that, just imagine this obstacle now metaphorically. If it were a metaphor, and I like to think of it as something I could hold in my hands, like in the image, she's holding that beautiful teacup in her beautiful hands. So what is something, a metaphor of this obstacle, that in a sense, the obstacle is stopping you from seeing what you need to see and doing what you need to do towards your goal, towards your priority, your intention. So what do you think this obstacle is? And if you feel it in your body, absolutely do that. In a, you know, in a one-on-one coaching session, when the coach is there to help you, we'll go into the body experience of the obstacle too. But right now, because we're all in a big group here all around the world, I like to hold that obstacle. So lots of times clients will associate something kind of dense or hard or cold with an obstacle, because, you know, when you think, if you want to block something, you got to use something that will block it. Like if you're blocking the sun's rays from your face, you're going to put up your hand or a piece of cloth like an umbrella to block the sun. So now that you know what your obstacle is, and could you guys write down what you hold in your hands is your obstacle? Because I wanna really be feeling it with you. I want to know what's showing up. Sometimes people will talk about it as being like muddy also is a common one. A vessel that is leaking liquid energy, sluggish goo, a cloudy pair of glasses. Great. Welcome, obstacles. Welcome. You're all welcome here. And by the way, we are all giving love to all these obstacles right now. We're doing this as a group, which is powerful too. Heaviness in the body, a brick, clay ball, complacency, fear, lack of time to accomplish everything I want to do. Perfect. These are perfect. So take that lack of time, take whatever emotion, and now make it a metaphor. It could be that lack of time is a really heavy table. It could be that lack of time is the color, whatever you want to make it into. And this is a really important skill. You're learning already to transform a feeling into a metaphor that you could, with your imagination, hold in your hands and work with. So like heart pounding, I may not be allowed by authority. How could that be something you hold in your hands? Could it be a scared kitten? You know, whatever it is for you. And as coaches, we empower the client to come up with their own metaphors. We don't give them a metaphor. Great. You guys are doing such a fantastic job. So just do a little pat on your back, because you're doing great with this. Now you're holding, and I like to do that sometimes. It's comforting, you know? So you're holding this metaphor and you're seeing it or feeling it. You don't have to see it. You know what it is. Now, bring in one of your values. What's one of your favorite values that you have? It could be an emotion. It could be a way of being in the world, like you're creative or you're funny or you're trusting or you're analytical or you're critical. All of these are your strengths and your values. Just bring them in now as helpers. And ask yourself, being supported by your values, could be being silly, being loving. Maybe it's your joy of, I don't know, making YouTube videos or cooking or taking photographs or golf, whatever it is. And what do you want to do now with this metaphor that you've got that's your obstacle? What do you want to do with it? Do you want to give it more space? Do you want to change it in some way? Do you want to set it free? What would you like to do with it? Answer for yourself, and then just take a few seconds to do that. If it's a big, heavy brick, just as an example, I'm going to make that big, heavy brick a brick made of foam that I can actually just throw in the air. Wow, that brick is now light. It's so light that I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to dig my hands into the foam, and I'm going to make it 2 bricks. And then I'm going to just not care about the mess, and I'm going to keep taking apart my brick until it's a bunch of foam. Now with foam, I could do anything I want with that foam. We're having a little sound on the line. No worries, people are joining.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so work with your metaphor now, whatever it is. And I'm going to share with you as you work with it some of the examples from the clients and the coaches we've worked with. Sometimes it's like a black hole, and sometimes people feel that in their body. And so they need to bring substance into it, something that's endless and vast. They want to bring the sun into it, or they want to bring ice cream or a music band, whatever it is, into that empty space. If it's something very hot, often we want to bring something cooler, lighter. If it feels heavy emotionally, maybe we want to imagine it's a cape we can remove off our back. So you get what I mean? We work with the client with whatever it is that's showing up in their imagination. And we invite communication with the obstacle. So right now, is there something you would like to say to your obstacle? And remember, you know it's a part of you, and you're loving, and you're aligned with your own truth here. So what would you like to say to it? Do you want to give it permission to be healed, or to go to the universe to be recycled? What would you like to say to it? Or thank you for trying to protect me, but I've got this now. I've got more resources now. I'm going to be working with my healthy power. Or maybe you'd like to say, gosh, it must be hard to be you. I'm going to help you evolve and be lighter. I'm sending you off to the best summer camp in the universe, where you're going to learn skills and grow. So whatever you want to say to it, you say it. And if there's anything your obstacle needs to say to you before it can be set free, listen. Thank the sharing. This is a part of you, and you're transforming it. And in the transformation process, there's growth, there's expression, there's actually an inner relationship that's really critical to the transformation. You've just worked with it. And any part of us that has that movement of change often has some expression. So just notice if there's an expression in your feeling right now, or in your body, or in the words, in the language. And you can see how this is, you're getting a taste of it right now. But when we do this in a coaching session, it's quite deep, and it goes on for quite a while. And this is very central in our approach. Whatever the goal is, we will have a session like this with a client, or several, because the client is learning skills to then use in their life when naturally obstacles show up. Because everybody experiences mini obstacles during the day. And when we know that we have the skill and really the healthy power to create that inner transformation and that inner relationship that allows for change, because we're no longer rejecting what is a resistance in us, we're welcoming, we're loving. When we know we can do that, then we're very quick to sense when resistance or obstacle is showing up, and we're very quick to make a change in the atmosphere of ourself to allow that resistance or that obstacle to roll off. I always think of an old friend of mine who would just go like this and say, "What are you doing, Lisa?" She'd just do this sometimes. She goes, "Oh, I'm just letting that thought go by," or "I'm letting that person's comment just go by me." And I always think of Lisa, and sometimes if I'm having some resistance to show up, I just go like this so I can let it go on by. It doesn't have to land and get sticky to me. So here's a little script of how it will look with a client, but I think we've already done a bit of this. What do you think, Mark? Should we go over the script a little?
Sure. So people can see how it's going through point by point.
Okay. So the client says, "I'll never have the confidence to do this." And the coach suggests to the client, you might want to thank the obstacle for being so clear. So that was the obstacle's words. "I'll never have the confidence to do this." And obstacles, they can be rather nasty in the way they speak to us. And then it's a surprise when a coach tells us, oh, thank it? Okay. Thank you, obstacle, for being so clear in words. Now notice any images that come from those words. What does no confidence look like as a picture? And so this is the client is creating that metaphor through a picture. They don't have to see it. You can imagine a picture without seeing it. You imagine it through your words. It's like a big boulder that will topple me over, says the client. Now, with a coach who doesn't have training in this, they might get a little worried that their client is imagining a big boulder that will topple them over. But if you're an activation method coach, you're excited. Now you've got a big boulder to work with. This is awesome. Okay, so the coach might ask, would you like to imagine that boulder is smaller right now? Yes, says the client, because clients love it that they can take a big, scary thing and make it little. And you can even just use your hands to make it little right now. So let's make it smaller. And I wasn't reading the script yet, but they do that with their hands. And then the coach asks, where could you put that boulder to have some distance and safety from it? And the client thinks, oh yeah, I'm gonna put that boulder actually way over on the other side of the city I live in, or in the forest. See, I'm talking and not reading. In the script it says in the forest. I was thinking today in the city. Okay. And then the coach is going to stay with what the client shares. So if the client shares a forest, the coach is going to stay with the client's line of feeling, thinking, imagining. The client says, I would like it to be in a forest where it becomes a beautiful thing. Okay, put it in the forest. Tell me about the forest. You see, it's not really hard to be a great coach. You just are asking for more information and letting the client's resources and wisdom shine through. So the client says there are some beautiful trees there. They're white birch trees, and they seem to dance. And the coach asks, could these trees be a resource? Yes. Yes, they could be. They're relaxing. They fill me with joy. So then the coach shares, allowing your boulder to be in this forest. See if there's anything you want to say to it. Is there anything it wants to say to you as you part ways? So in this example, what the client is able to do is a peaceful separation, a kind separation. For some clients, that might be thinking more in the cosmos or the universe, or they might bring in God or an angel to help them, or some other form of helpful spirituality for them, or it might be quite scientific for them, like they're going to change the chemical composition of their obstacle. So it can be all different ways, but I'm hoping you guys are getting a really nice picture of the way this works, because I know I'm feeling it right now. Maybe it's this big group doing this together and kind of feeling the emotion of, for me, it's an excitement of being able to work metaphorically. So at the heart of it, our clients are really learning all of these strategies and techniques and processes so they can have many different levels of transformation. This leads to transforming beliefs, transforming emotion, transforming ways of old patterns of thinking or reaction to things. You know, lots of times what's really getting someone stuck is a way of reacting that they weren't able before to notice. So it's one thing in the coaching session, and it's a totally next level thing when in the client's life they start realizing, oh, now that I know my obstacle, I'm realizing how it comes up when this person says this thing. They don't mean to trigger my obstacle. I get that. And yet it does. Now I have a new opportunity to work on that. And the client not only can work with you in the coaching session, but they can work with themselves in their daily life because they're getting these skills. And that really leads to feeling much more integrated. So let's talk about what integration is in the session and on a bigger level too. For yourself right now, if you did work with your metaphor, there was chances are not only a release, but now there could be, for some, it can feel a little bit like an openness or an emptiness that you want to fill. So one thing we do is we fill back up with resources. And this is where the coach's list of keywords the client said is really helpful. So if I know my client really loves their garden, I'm going to bring their garden into filling back up with resources. If I know my client really enjoys working in the community in a certain way, I'm going to bring that in. I know my client just loves daffodils. I'm going to bring daffodils in. Whatever it is that works for my client, I'm going to have them actively take a couple minutes, and I want to encourage you to do that now too, to fill back up with your healthy resources, whether it's your emotions, your values, something you love doing in your life, because you just made more space. You just had a clearing of that obstacle. And so we want to invite our healthy energy. And if nothing comes to you, just imagine the sunshine filling every pore of your body with sunshine. And imagine really lovely water, just the best water in the world that you could drink, and having a nice glass of that water. And just taking a nice deep breath. Okay. So now there's been some integration. The space has opened up, the resources have come back in, and now there's more energy available, and there's actually more mental power available for thinking and planning. So that's what's really cool on a practical level. Now in the coaching session, we can ask our client, or you can ask yourself, what are my next steps? Remembering that goal. Now, what's this first step I want to take towards my goal? And usually the client finds, I mean, almost always, that there's a new ability to form a new way of looking at what they want to do towards their healthy goal, towards their whatever it is, their idea or their feeling or the situation. So here's a little summing up of what the client has learned, or hopefully what you have learned too. Creating clarity about the goal, feeling the elevation, the positive state that's in their control. We did that with resourcing about a value. Using imagination, find resources in self, imagination, and environment. Turn obstacle into a metaphor. Get resourceful by transforming the obstacle, and bring in resources, and sometimes have a dialogue, talking to that obstacle, letting it share, and you talking, or your client talking to their obstacle. Noticing emotions, thoughts, and physical changes, and then adding a step here, bringing back in those resources, because there's been some vastness created and we want to get resourceful again. That's part of the integration. And then plan actions and experience the new energy. So it could be energy, it could be ideas, it could be emotions, it could be relief. Sometimes it just feels like relief, like a letting go of stress or anxiety or something that's been keeping the person down. So in activation method coaching, we train you in over 40 different strategies. Now, the reason we're sharing this one is because it's very central. It can come through in small ways in many of the different techniques we use. And so Mark and I wanted to share with you one of our real favorites, this element of knowing the goals, knowing the obstacle, transforming them. So in the program, some of you guys know that we're enrolling now in activation method life coach certification. And so because I'm on the slide, I'm going to talk about it. We're going to be doing 7 days of live training online. These are optional, of course, but they're a real deep dive into learning through doing. Mark or myself demo a coaching strategy. You have a guide to follow, and then you are the coach and the client. And boy, you realize a lot of benefits for yourself in that, because you receive a lot of great coaching and giving of coaching, which naturally builds up confidence. So for a lot of people, one of the big obstacles or resistances they have in any career or any new stage of life is it's very hard to imagine doing the thing. And even if they really want to do something, it's kind of hard to imagine having that new identity or that new skill. And this is where I think whatever it is that you're working on, doesn't have to be coaching. It's really important that you do have experiences doing it, being it. That then becomes a lasting resource that's always there for you. And then before you're having, let's say, a meet and greet session with a potential client, or before you talk to your friends about what you do, you bring in the memories of doing the coaching with your colleagues. And that really brings in the kind of courage and that sense of being it that we need to then step forward and say, this is what I do professionally. I'd like you to be my client, or this is what I do professionally. Tell your friends about me. Whatever it is, through being it, we gain that confidence. So in our program, you receive certifications for every one of those live trainings. The first one's 1 day, and then the next 2 or 3 days each. And you also get 6 or 12 months of live support with Mark and I in mentorship classes, in practice labs every week, with our team in small group sessions, and in meditation if you're interested in meditation. So, we love that. And I want to see if you guys have any questions right now before we move on to talk about more of the details. If anyone wants to share about working with their metaphor, or if you have any question, please write it in the chat. And Mark, if you want to speak to that a little bit before we move on, I'm going to be looking at the chat.
One thing that's really cool about this process is that often coaches kind of get hooked by certain ideas that cause worry and stress. We think, oh, I have to fix the problem, or I have to create results, or I have to push the client, or I have to find something. I have to. And it might be that, in your life, you've been the person who kind of takes a lot of responsibility over situations, right? But in coaching, you don't have to take that responsibility. This process will allow the client to naturally clarify their goals, use all their resources, transform their obstacles, kind of connect with their creative mind. And all the best solutions are inside the client. So even if as a coach, you want to do it for the client, it's much better because the client will discover solutions and things that work for them, and resources and memories and relationships and skills that you have no idea about. So often you'll say, hey, what would be a good thing to do? And the client will say something that will totally look like I never would have guessed, And so that's a beautiful moment for us in coaching, because it's like the client is really owning the full solution. They're not depending on me. I don't have to be the one who somehow brings it or pushes or anything. And they're really just connecting with the resources that they already have.
Mark, you reminded me something. I don't know why it came to me as you were talking. I was thinking about a client that surprised me that way, actually in a boot camp where we were working with a metaphor. I don't remember the exact details of the session, but his house was a big part of it. His goal was actually, he had just retired, and it was to work on the house, on the windows of the house, the like dry rot had happened. And of course, it was like a home they'd had for 30 years. He wanted to work on his house. And then as part of the transformation process, he he spoke to the house directly and felt that the house, I hope I'm not remembering it
Yeah.
exactly. I don't know if I'm remembering exactly, but the house basically became an enormous resource and could speak to him. And he realized that the house was like a loving protector of his family, and that by taking care of it, he was really honoring the way he loves and protects his family. And so I would have never in a million years thought to make the house a person who spoke to him, but that's how the coaching turned out because of the client. And that's what's so cool. It's kind of like it reminds me sometimes our style of coaching reminds me of reading a really good fiction book that surprises you, because it's like the person is really accessing their creativity and these tools that are just not on the surface in everyday life. And then it lets them become so much more practical and take actions. And that's I think the energy that gets freed up. So,
And
all
Jenny,
right,
a
let
lot of
me
that
see
time,
if,
so when you have a strategy also like that, as a coach, you get to follow the steps of the strategy and patiently create the supporting presence for the client to figure out, to make the connections. So you don't have to be leaping over, mountains to help them. You have a process, and that process enables the client that you can trust. You can trust the process because it's been developed over many years and worked with thousands of clients. And you trust the client because when they connect with their goal, they discover their natural motivation to find what they want.
beautiful. And I just want to read out from the chat some of the transformations that people wrote because it's so cool. Um, thank you for the lesson that I released. Another person said, make it a plume of a bird and let it fly. Someone else said, there's no need for the heaviness. The fear is keeping you from bouncing and being playful. There is no danger here, just experiences to explore. Wow. And that was just a few that just jumped out at me. So beautiful to see that.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to share with you guys now a little bit more about our program. And I want you guys to feel free at any time to write in questions you have. And we will, of course, answer your questions. So you can join us at activationmethod.net. That is the page that has all the program details. And in our one-day boot camp, what we do is we teach you our favorite 3 to 4 strategies to get started with any client. So we actually do work with this strategy at the end of the day, but we want to start with every new client by understanding them. So we really look at the strategies for helping to begin a coaching relationship with a client. And you don't need any experience to join us. You learn from being there in that first immersive live day. And if you can't come, not a problem. You get a recording of the whole training.
And so when you spend a day with us at boot camp, you basically get fully practiced 3 or 4 coaching strategies that now you have. So it's very different than like just getting some videos. You actually walk away knowing how to do it.
Absolutely. And in our online boot camps, these are 3 days, and we break up the day into 2 sessions, so morning and an afternoon. And we're usually really focusing on one session, one coaching plan in the morning and one in the afternoon. And then sometimes we often, like Mark said, there's 3 or 4 because often we're throwing in a little mini teaching on another strategy too. So you get about 7 strategies per 3-day boot camp. And a strategy is really a plan, an outline for a coaching session. And the reason we teach this way is that we know when you have completed your training with us and you've got like 40 session plans that you can use, you'll use them when it's appropriate. So there's, of course, the more generic ones for getting started or when there's a specific kind of problem. But then there's, your client is talking about a kind of situational anxiety, and you've been trained in a strategy specifically for situational anxiety. Or you find that your client is just really having an issue with a certain resource, like they're just not feeling emotionally flexible. They're kind of stuck in an emotion. You bring in an emotional flexibility kind of practice or strategy you've learned. So this is what is building up in you in every single one of our trainings that you receive, is this kind of toolbox, a toolkit of all these different strategies and processes that you'll bring into your coaching as you need to. You don't have to know in advance what you're going to use. And so you receive 2 3-day live immersive trainings with us, those who are joining us now. And those are in September and December. And they're optional. You receive the training classroom that comes with them, so you don't have to come live. And by the way, because we do have students all around the world, we have students in Europe and in Asia and everywhere. I don't know if there's a continent we haven't trained someone in. More in those 2 places though. So we have, well, we're very worldwide. I think if we broke it down, it's quite the mix. So we've created a system where we have a morning session, an afternoon, and then an evening session that's a repeat of the morning. So it doesn't matter what time zone you're in, you'll get the complete training at those live immersive events online. So, and I just did want to point out to you, each one of those boot camps is worth $14.95. So that's $3,000, not even including the one day. And I think it's important to understand the value of all the components of this program, because we've really made it as impactful and full of quality material for you than in the past. It's new and improved. I've actually been working really hard on the new online training, and it is really new and improved, and I think more powerful. So then we have this online activation method coach course. And, just that course has the value of $34.95, but it's just part of this much bigger program here. So in that online training, you learn through a lecture, a demo of the concept or the process strategy being used, a demo of the coaching. Those are usually 20 minutes to an hour long. And there's optional Q&As you can listen to. And there's just a mini quiz. We're making it easier and easier to graduate from our programs, because we decided in 2022, Mark and I want our students out there working as quickly as possible. We feel that the world is at this turning point now where people need to step into their action and their power as coaches. And so we're making it easier than ever to graduate, because we want that energy that you bring as a healer in the world using coaching to go out there. So we want you to graduate. This training also prepares you to take the Center for Credentialing and Education, the BCC Board Certified Coach exam. And there's also another training you get with the program that is specifically for that process. If you don't need or want to be a BCC trained coach, you don't have to do that training. It's there, optional. You can use it if you want or not. But the core program is in the online activation method coach course. So you can actually do the whole course online in your own time and not come to anything live, and you will still graduate and have all the benefit. At the end of the course, we ask that you send us a Zoom session of you working with a client. That is your that's our new graduation requirement, so that we see you actually doing one coaching session. It can be a friend, it can be someone in the program. It doesn't have to be a paid client. All right, so live classes. Every week we have several different live classes. We have meditation, we have mentorship class with Mark or myself as your teacher. We have Practice Lab with our team guiding you through 21 unique skill building sessions for coaches. Some of those are working on skills like listening, asking questions, guiding a process. Some of those are really based on a strategy guide so that you have a chance to work on your skills there live in community in a really safe, supportive atmosphere, because we want you to feel that it's okay to mess up. You can just say, sacred pause, I'm going to look at my notes, or I'm raising my hand. I have no idea what to do now. And that's welcome. That's great. That's like, for us, the very best when a student can say, I need some help here, right? That's what learning and training is about. It's not about stepping into a program or a methodology and knowing it. It's about getting to know it. It's about kind of having a session with a client that surprises you and learning. And that's what builds the inner confidence, all of those experiences. And if you can't come to those live, it's not a problem. You have the videos of each one of those, and you can use them with a practice partner. So we think it's a great idea when you start a program like this to get two people, maybe acquaintances, maybe colleagues, maybe friends, and you say, hey, would you have 6 coaching sessions with me? And so with those 2 people, you can have 12 practice coaching sessions. And that's all you need to really get a lot of the skills and experience into yourself. Even better if you can come to the practice labs or the online immersive events, but if not, you can do it in your own time, because I know many people have families, full-time jobs, maybe you're in a different time zone, whatever it is. We want you to be able to do it all in your own way. You know, as I mentioned earlier, freedom is pretty important to me. So I want you to feel that sense of freedom when you're in our course. Okay, let's see here. Oh, and I'm going to mention the value. So all those live classes are easily $11.95 value. They're actually more than that if someone were to sign up for everything individually for the 6 or 12 months. The Bonus Coach Accelerator Workshop is a marketing training, and it's over 5 days. And Mark, do you want to speak to it a bit?
Yeah, so this is our system for getting you up and running for 100% online coaching practice in 5 days. We do it together as a group, about 2 to 3 hours a day. And it comes with, it's specifically for coaches. It's very low tech. We walk you through every single decision and every single step that you need to do. I'll coach you personally if at any point you need help. And at the end of 5 days, you'll have your system. And that's when our coaches are ready to start accepting clients.
You want to speak to, there's a lot of different parts of the
Yes.
marketing training. And so I want Mark to speak to this since
Yep.
he's the maker.
So Coaching Practice Blueprint was actually, it's a little bit of an older program, but it's kind of coming perfect now because it really focuses on in-person networking in your community. Where do where can you find clients easily without having to go online, without having to deal with technology? What are the natural referral networks that you can participate in? And so happily for most of the world, now that in-person part of building your business is back. And so you'll find a lot of great strategies for that, really time tested. And often our clients are the ones who discover them. They discover that something is possible and we're like, wow, that's amazing. Let's share that. So it's a real great source of, sometimes it's just one strategy will feed your whole coaching practice when you figure it out and how it works for you in your community.
Or one client will feed a lot of your coaching practice. Sometimes you luck out and you get
Yep.
one client who is what we call a sneezer. They
Yep.
sneeze you all over, not bad germs, good germs. They sneeze your benefits all over the place.
Yep.
And so we also want you to have a website. You might already have a website. You might want to build your own and use some of our copy, or you're like, I don't want to deal with that. I just give me a website that I put in my photo, I get it up, and it's just ready there. And it's kind of like having, nowadays having at least some kind of website is like having in 10, I don't know, 20 years ago, just having a card you hand it out, right?
Yeah.
People just want to know what your website is. I'm amazed how sometimes I even have to pull up my website to prove something in one getting a COVID shot or something.
Oh, that's
It's
true.
amazing how
And
that
often,
works
so
out.
your website, this website is really configured for coaching. So it's different from other kind of websites for an author or a course creator. And it's specifically designed so that when someone finds out about you, they might look you up. They might look you up in Facebook to see anything about you, and they might Google you. So when they Google you and they see this, they see the compatibility that they have and the services that you have to offer in a way that really reassures the client so they can reach out to you.
And in some of the marketing training, Mark really helps coaches in particular understand the client's perspective looking at a website. Now, this is really different than a lot of marketing trainings out there. And so I wanted to bring attention to this, that in the marketing programs that you're learning from, you're learning specifically from the perspective of the business you're building as a coach. And that's very important because a lot of the marketing programs are not, they're coming from a marketer's perspective of selling product. And
Mhm.
coaching relationship is not product. A
Mhm.
coaching relationship is a relationship. It's a human interaction. And that is so different. And for that reason, what we're really good at doing is helping our students feel their own desire to be of service. And that's really the energy that leads you to having success in signing up clients and building your business, is where it's coming from, what your deepest truthful intention is for your business, for you. Sometimes it's easier if you think of it as for your business, what your business is doing. It takes a little bit of, if there's any inner critic in there about yourself. So we work with that with you often in the mentorship classes. Lots of times students don't realize that one of their blocks is not having that inner power that is fueling that act of being of service as a coach, being of service in a way that also makes you a really good income and a healthy lifestyle. Because that, of course, is part of that kind of attuning process. We want to feel empowered enough and sure enough and confident enough that we can create the business that not only serves others, but serves our family and our needs as well. And so that's a real balancing. And I think that this is where these marketing programs are important, because they are for coaches. Sometimes I'm kind of upset by the marketing programs that are out there online that I see. I won't go into that now.
Mhm.
Okay. So we also want you to have a roadmap. We want you to know what it looks like for different kinds of coaching general goal categories. So dating coaching, relationship coaching, low self-esteem coaching, job transition. So we've made a guide for you that is this bonus where you have the strategies you're learning organized in 8 to 12 session plans that you can use for those specific kinds of goals that clients have. So we looked at what are like the top 10 most common goals. Like one might be anxiety. A lot of coaching clients are coming to coaching to help them find a way of being with themselves to lower their stress. So we want to have a plan of working with someone where that's their goal. Okay, my little thingy is a little slow. So I just wanted to point out too, all of those different marketing programs are a combined value of $7,000 if you were to buy them individually. And the roadmap, $500. $495. I have to say the $495 thing. The bonus clarity session magic, Mark, you want to talk about that? This is going back to the marketing.
Yeah. And so this is where the clarity session is really where your marketing and business building and your coaching intersect most in the most connected way. And because a clarity session is a free consultation session that you offer anyone who you think might be a good candidate to become one of your coaching clients. So it's like a wonderful, valuable thing that you can offer anyone. And for coaches, it's great because once you learn how to offer it and you know the people at the end of when you give them one of these free sessions, they feel so happy, so connected, so listened to, so clear, right? And then the right clients will just say, I want to sign up. I want to sign up for your session, right? And the people who aren't right or for some reason not right at the moment, they'll say, thank you so much. I'm going to tell my friends about you. And so it's a really easy way for coaches to kind of spread their services. And also, if you're someone who's tends to give away a lot of free coaching, you tend to give away a lot of your efforts and skills to people, then this is a way to give it away, but it actually builds your business in the long term.
We also want you to have a training library with lots of videos that our bonuses are all optional for you to use when you need them. And what we hear is people will turn back to their bonus libraries years in the future. So what's cool is you have this perhaps too much material, but it's there for you when you need it. So we give you these libraries of videos of coaching demos. The meditation library has over 50 different guided meditations. A book comes with that of 27 meditation scripts that you can use. And here are dates of our upcoming boot camps. So our 1-days are on August 27th and October 22nd. You can come to both or you can choose which one works for you. And then the 3-day boot camps are September 10th to 12th and December 3rd to 5th. If for some reason one of those days doesn't work for you, you tell the team and we'll include you in 2023's boot camps. We're going to continue to have 2 online boot camps every year. And who knows, maybe we'll have some in-person too in coming up. We're looking forward to it. This was one of our in-person boot camps in this slide. We were at this beautiful La Costa Resort and that was everybody on the stairwell. It was a lovely day. Okay, and so normally boot camps, if any of you guys remember, these usually were, this is about the price of our program now, but it used to cost the price of our entire course used to be what people spent just on a 3-day boot camp. So now the entire course is $29.95, including all the boot camps, including the BCC certification, all of the marketing training, and all those additional bonuses. And so it is $29.95, regularly $34.95. And this is kind of our back to school special, 12 payments of $279. This is at another one of our lovely trainings. And this is what comes in the whole program: the 3 boot camp certificates, the activation method coach certification, the board certified prep course certification. And you get the 7 days of the boot camp training, the online training, the 6 months of live classes. It's 12 months if you pay in one payment, the integrity marketing system with a website, the meditation and coaching bonus rooms. And that would all total $16,400. But the price now is $29.95. So that is a good reason to join now and be coaching professionally, maybe in October. That would be my goal for you. Okay, guys. So you get to keep the training courses forever. You learn from home at your own pace. All the classes are recorded and added to your room. And you jumpstart your professional practice by attending the live boot camp or doing it through the classroom. You can do it that way too. So you can join us at activationmethod.net. We are enrolling now. We are going to be closing our enrollment on August 26th, the day before the first boot camp on August 27th. So that is what? That's about 10 days. I'm not sure of the date.
9 days. Yep.
9 days. Yep. So we're going to be enrolling for the next 9 days. And we're just so excited to be adding new people to our community. This is a place where I'm just going to check if we have any more slides. No, Coaching Institute is fortunately for Mark and I, the people who become students are they're incredible. They're kind, supportive, intelligent. I am blown away by the levels of life experience and the kind of wealth of spirit contribution, whether it's in the classes or in the coaching sessions. Every practice lab, the team is texting me constantly the beautiful coaching they're observing. Sometimes they even ask permission and they take a little video of you and they send it to us. The students are just the best. And I dream about our students. I get to coach people about their personal lives sometimes. And what's so cool is to see the kind of coaching practices that grow as an activation method coach. People are specializing in a whole range of issues, of needs, of relationships, of ways of improving creatively, organizationally, business. And they're using the strategies learned in activation method to be applied in these different life arenas. And so I hope that you become one of our students and that Mark and I get to meet you soon and that we work together. I do see some of our students here right now. So I was talking about you, right? Okay, guys. Mark, anything else you'd like to share? Were there any questions?
Yeah, we'd love you to join us.
Yeah.
If you have questions, just write to us at support@Coaching Institute.
Yep.
And we're happy to get on a call or have one of our team getting on a call with you to answer your questions and make sure it's a personal fit for you.
Yeah. And by the way, this is not like when you get on a call with a team member, you're actually getting on a call with a team member that will then offer you supervision in your coaching. These are not salespeople. These are people who are trained by us. Both of our team members have been working with us for many years. Jeremy, who looks quite young, has actually been on our team for 8 years. So it's just the Zoom settings. He's not that young. He's 31 and he's a really good coach and a really good person. And he will really help you understand every part of the course. And that's also who answers questions for you. So we are the kind of school that takes care of people. Of course, sometimes it might take a little longer than you want for a question to be answered, but we try to always, actually, our goal is to answer every question within 24 hours. So if you write to us, we're going to write back to you. And we want you to reach out with any questions. It is $29.95. I saw that in the chat. Everything? Yes, everything for $29.95 or those 12 payments of $279. So it's not the time to wait. This tuition, this monthly tuition plan, it's better to do that than to wait to be able to pay full pay. It's really better to start helping people. The sooner the better, whether that means you're coaching on the weekend or you're coaching 2 evenings a week. It's always the best time to start is now, because so many things in our life we put off. And then looking back, it's like, oh, I could have done that 5 years ago. I know I do that. So, okay, guys, I look forward to our next time together. Be well.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
See you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.